Yo, what's up? Welcome to my second AC techno bassline tutorial. In my first video, we used Ableton analog synthesizer. Today, to make things more interesting, we will use Native Instruments Massive to create the sound in style of Boston 168. Today, I will show you how easy it is to create such a sound. You will learn using envelopes, filters, automations, and pitch gliding to create interesting and rhythmic bass patterns. Later, I will teach you how to use two basic effects, which are the echo and reverb, to give your sound a deep and big space, which will fill the beat. If you wonder how to start producing AC techno music, then this tutorial will be a great starting point for you. My name is Marcin, I put out sound design tutorials every second Sunday. If you don't want to miss such videos, then subscribe to my channel. I mainly recreate tracks which are suggested by you and made by professional producers. On top of that, if my YouTube channel is not enough, contact me for private music production lessons, which will give you a whole lot of new knowledge. Are you ready? Let's start the work. As always, let's start this tutorial by creating a new MIDI track. This will be the channel where I put the massive synthesizer. It would be wise to create the melody. A simple Google search will show me that this track was written in A flat key, which is the same as G sharp, and the minor scale was used. Knowing that, I can return to the Ableton and open my MIDI clip and use the scale functionality, which highlights the notes, in this case from a minor scale where the root note is equal to G sharp or A flat. After some time, I have created such a melody, which you can of course copy. The first thing you might hear is a weird notes overlapping, which happens exactly here. This is the place where we expect the pitch glide or pitch slide to happen. It means we want to have a smooth pitch transition between the C sharp, G sharp and A notes. To fix this, let's open the Massive and start tweaking the preset. We will head straight to the voicing tab, which contains the voicing and trigger sections. Currently, we have selected the polyphone voicing mode, which allows the Massive to play two notes simultaneously if that happens. We will select the monophone mode instead. With monophone or monorotate voicing mode selected, when Massive plays a single MIDI note and encounters a new one, the first MIDI note stops playing and the second one starts to play. It means that we will never meet a situation where two MIDI notes are playing simultaneously. Even though you can see that these notes are overlapping, we don't hear it in the sound. Let's return to the Massive and enable the pitch glide now. To that, you might want to switch to the OSC tab, where we have the single time knob. Adjusting this one will dictate the lengths of the pitch slide whenever two MIDI notes are overlapping. This is the first control we will use to create an interesting acid bass pattern. Let's listen to the beginning part of the melody. We can hear the pitch glide happening even between the C sharp and E notes. These notes are not overlapping with each other. If that happens, we don't want to have any pitch glide. Let's return to the voicing tab again and look at the trigger section. Currently, the always mode is selected. It means that the glide will happen every time. I will check legato, but the legato triller is okay as well. Now the pitch glide will happen only whenever two MIDI notes are overlapping. The pitch slide issue is solved. Now we will start tweaking the sound. I will turn off the OSC3 and OSC2 because we don't need them. We will leave only the first oscillator playing. The most common wavetables for acid basslines are the sawtooth wave and square wave. You can also hear that this sound is too sharp. We have too much of high frequencies. It would be wise to add a low-pass filter now. That's why I will use this fader to route the whole output from the oscillator 1 towards the first filter. And in the filter section, we will pick a low-pass 4 filter. As I sweep the cutoff frequency control, we get rid of more and more high frequencies. A common thing when creating acid basslines is to automate such cutoff frequency parameter. Let's assign this envelope towards the cutoff frequency. I will grab this arrow icon and drag it towards the square beneath under the cutoff frequency control. Now the modulation is assigned. I want to adjust the modulation in such a way. We are starting from the highest point right from the beginning. That's why I will turn the attack down to 0. And in relatively short time, which means I want to shorten the decay parameter, I want to go down with the modulation as low as possible. For this I have to turn down the level or the sustain in other synthesizers parameter. The only thing remaining is to adjust the modulation range for this cutoff frequency parameter. Let's click this digit and drag the mouse. A blue halo appears which shows you the modulation range for this cutoff frequency parameter. If I want this modulation to happen faster, I have to decrease the decay time even more. If we want to have a bigger slide, let's say a longer modulation, increase that time. Another simple tip to make this frequency sweep more interesting is to use the filter resonance control, which creates the bump around the cutoff frequency. This extra bump gives you a more aggressive frequency control. Let's play this bassline and see what happens once I crank this resonance control up. To fine-tune the sound of this modulation, you might want to switch from low-pass 4 to low-pass 2 filter. This second one has a more gentle curve, which means that with the same cut-off and resonance values, this filter will pass through just a bit more of high frequencies. We don't want to have this cutoff frequency automation happening every time. It would be cool if we could sometimes bypass this first envelope, which controls the cutoff frequency control. I will start using the automations. The first parameter which we automate is the level parameter, which can act as a dry-wet control for this modulation. If we turn the level down to 0, no filter automation is happening. Now I can see the automation drawing area in Ableton. If you can't draw automations or you don't see them, make sure to highlight this icon which opens up the automations. We want to automate this level parameter. Once you start adjusting this by hand, an appropriate automation curve in Ableton will open. This is this parameter which we want to automate. This is the automation which I have copied from the channel above. To make this acid bassline sound muffled, I need to adjust the modulation range for the first envelope. I want to adjust the cutoff frequency as well with the resonance controls. And this is the patch after adjusting the envelopes and filters. You can see that I have used another filter type. The massive, besides low pass 4 and low pass 2, has a few different low pass filters types which are on the bottom. These extra low-pass filters have additional controls which can give you the extra distortion to the sound. I have used the acid filter type, which I think is quite self-explanatory. Let's listen how does the same melody sound like after adjusting the synthesizer parameters. In the original track, you can hear that sometimes the synthesizer is brighter and sometimes it sounds darker. That's because besides modulating the modulation range for the cutoff frequency, the cutoff frequency knob itself is automated as well. Let's click this control so we open the filter 1 cutoff automation window, and we will create another automation. At last, let's take a look at the fourth envelope, which by default controls the volume of the synthesizer. After the fade-in, which is set with the attack control, the volume of the synthesizer drops in time of decay to the sustain level. I would like to make the volume of this acid bassline constant. That's why I will bring this level control to the top. The last way in which you can automate the cutoff frequency control in the first filter is by the modulation oscillator. After you turn it on, you might want to select the filter FM mode and assign this modulation to the first oscillator where we have the sawtooth wave playing. You can adjust the pitch of this oscillator. I recommend moving in the octave increments, and then you can automate simply the FM amount parameter. This is the automation I have drawn. Let's play the melody and see what happens. Now I will change the pitch of the modulation oscillator. You can hear how many interesting sounds can we create. If you pair it up with switching the wavetable to square wave from time to time, a whole world of, let's say, new possibilities waits for you. This would be the first part of my tutorial where we have finished creating the patch in the massive. If you like this video so far, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel to not miss the future videos. It would be cool if you could share this video on your Facebook or somewhere else. Now it's time to use some extra effects on this acid bassline to make the sound more spacious. The first effect we will use is the reverb. There are many different kinds of reverb plugins. For example, the Epic Verb by Variety of Sound gives you a very metallic sound, which sounds artificial. If you want to have something which sounds more transparent, I can recommend you a freeware Tall Reverb 4 plugin. This reverb is a bit quiet. To make it louder, I will increase the wet control. It would be cool if this reverb had a bit more high frequencies. I also want to crank up the high cut control, which is nothing but a low pass filter for the reverb. The size parameter dictates mainly the decay time of reverb. If I set it low, the reverb becomes short, meaning that the amount of space we add is quite low. That's why it's better to keep it rather high. If you would like to make this reverb sound a bit lighter, use the low cut control, which is a high pass filter for the reverb. Because most of the power of the reverb comes from the mid and lower frequencies, we will keep this turned down to 0. The last parameter is the pre-delay, which introduces a delay between the reverb and the dry signal. The second effect, which will give you the extra space, the extra dimension to the sound, is the echo, which is a classic delay effect in Ableton. One of the most important parameters is the delay time, which is set here with these two knobs. Currently, the link control is selected. It means that the delay time for the left and right channel will be always the same. If we set the delay times differently in left and right channels, we will have the possibilities for the extra rhythms. Let's keep these channels synchronized and set the delay time to 8th note in dot times, which gives us that right rhythm. You can hear that the delay became a bit louder than the original sound. That is because the tri-wet control, which blends the delay with the raw sound, is set to 70%. Let's set it to something less. Values around 45% work best. A very important thing will be to switch from the classic stereo delay to the ping-pong delay. To control the width of this delay, you might want to use the stereo control. Let's set it to a lower value so the sound is more narrow. The last thing which is worth adjusting is the feedback control, which dictates the amount of echo repetitions. To give even more space to the sound, you might want to increase this one as well. At last, we would like to make this sound a bit warmer. That's why in the end we will use the equalizer, but at first let's see what happens in the frequency spectrum. Because of the low pass filter used, we don't have lots of high frequencies. We will focus on the frequencies from 200 or 600 region. Usually to make a sound warmer, you want to boost the frequencies around this area. If I would like to make this sound a bit more hollow, then I would focus on boosting some frequencies from higher regions. I will open the equalizer, in my case it's TTR Nova. Here I have already prepared a single bell filter boosting the 277 Hz frequency region. This filter is quite wide. That's because the Q value, which sets the filter bandwidth, is set low. With the gain of around 2 decibels, we will make the sound warmer. And this would be everything for today's tutorial. As you could see, the AC bassline in style of Boston 168 is really simple to create, and you can do this with every synthesizer because we are using the most basic functions. In next 2 weeks I will drop a 4th part of my Glockenspiel Weltschmerz track recreation tutorial, where finally we will add one of the Glockenspiel signature sounds, the respace. Stay tuned, thanks for watching, and see you next time.